Good morning. We are back for another live stream where Steven pretends to be a developer. All right, let's see. I didn't do a good job of preparing for stream last night, so let's get my stuff all situated. All right, let's get the live chat going. Good morning, Stefan. Good to see you, man. How are you? Thank you as always for being a member. Long-time supporter. I appreciate you, dude. Let's see. Good morning. Can't believe we are on. Hey, good morning, Oblivious. Yes, another day, another challenge. Exactly that. Just woke up, ready to do some C++. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, how is school going, by the way, Stefan? I haven't heard you talk about it much. Did you finish up your semester and everything? I've heard a lot of other people mention their exams and stuff, but I haven't heard you talk about it. I'm passing everything as it comes. I like it. I like it. That's all. You just take it one day at a time, one step. Small steps climb mountains. That's that's the way of the world. I hate it honestly because I feel like I'm losing time there. I'm not learning anything new. I'm not getting anything out of it. Eesh. That's a terrible way to feel. You think it's just the do you think it's the university or you think it's the professor or what can you do? That's how our faculty system works. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are at the end of the day, we are all kind of um what's the word? We're subject, right? To just how society has agreed like these are the boxes you need to check. These are the things you need to do. Yeah. That's a shitty feeling. We are going to be drinking coffee, talking to if you are new here, try commands. I tell you what, my when the 4 o'clock alarm went off this morning, the bed was calling my name to stay there. Okay, so we did that. We pinned the message. Oh, Discord. I forgot to set up the Discord event. What turned me away from going to college for comp sci is hearing from friends that their teachers implored them not to use language features they hadn't been taught yet. That's. I mean, you would think you would be encouraging students to explore all the things, right? Like, you would think you'd encourage that interest. Hold on, I gotta. Good morning, Bite Slayer. How are you? How goes your programming language that you're building? Yeah, let me get over here. Copy this. Back over here. Get the live stream title. Do that. We'll say this starts at 4:25 a.m. We'll say this starts at 7. Let's upload a cover image. There we go. Alright, now the Discord peeps can be in the know. And then last thing, I think we just need to make sure we didn't grab any new members overnight, and then we'll be ready to go. Let's see. Nope, no new members. Okay, I think we're good. Pin message, Discord, members updated. Oh, wow. Look at this. How crazy is that? My channel is 9 today. My channel's been alive for 9 years. Happy birthday to my channel. You're hitting 8K today, maybe? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to look at those numbers too much. Good morning, Lasdrin. Yes, they're just holding you back so much. That's lame. Not to mention that here professors basically don't teach you anything. They just read from a presentation and they bait that they send you after anyways. That's lame. If you don't know that stuff already, then you'll have to learn after yourself anyways. Yeah, of course. Bytes there. I have most of the design ready. I'm not quite sure what language I'll use for scaffolding. Probably just Rust. I'm currently sick though. Ah, dude, I'm sorry you're sick. I hope you get to feeling better so you can work on your programming language. Good morning, Danny. How are you doing? Good to see you, dude. I gotta plug in my phone real quick too. I did not prepare for the day well last night. All right, all electronics be charging. The stream is finally set up. We can now commence activities. Good morning, Frank Sinatra. Nice username, man. Frank Sinatra. Fly me to the moon. Yeah. That guy was good. I also like his song I Did It My Way. I really enjoy that song. Oh, another big god. That's probably going to happen about 10 more times this morning. And then we need to go to Advent of Code, day 9, part 2. And we need to re-download the problem. So we'll do AOC, download. Yep, day 9. All right, here we go. We're out and running. Advent of Code is really fun. Dude, you crushed it. You fucking crushed that thing. I'm glad you had fun doing it. It's fun. It is fun. It is, though, like, I remember you posted in Discord. You posted in Discord that you were kind of getting burnt out. And I feel like that does happen, though, in Advent of Code, especially if you try to do both parts every day. It just, it's a lot on top of like your normal everyday life, you know? I think you should become a teacher. I don't know about that, man. Well, first, teachers don't make that much money, which is, or at least here in the United States, teachers don't get paid anything here in the United States. It's absolutely a travesty. Americans don't want to pay our teachers. But yeah, I don't know if I have a desire to be a teacher. You know, like I know a lot of people who make programming and coding content kind of end up in that sort of space where they're teaching or they're like making courses. I see the same kind of thing in fitness. The same thing happens in um, in the fitness world. A lot of people who try to go and be personal trainers or strength conditioning coaches, a lot of them end up being people who teach other personal trainers or strength conditioning coaches how to be personal trainers or strength conditioning coaches. And that seems to be how a lot of developers who make content end up making money or trying to make money, right? Is like they end up trying to become a programmer or a developer who teaches other people how to become a programmer or a developer. And I don't know if I want to follow in that shtick. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you enjoy doing and you want to do that. I think I'd much rather just make content about the stuff I'm interested in, the stuff I'm learning. And if other people are interested in that, great. But Raf W, good morning. Thanks for subscribing. Good morning, Ashuto. Same in India. Yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't know why society doesn't understand the value of taking care of teachers. You know, they play such an important role. Muaz, hey, how are you, Steven? I'm doing good, Muaz. It's good to see you, man. We're gonna try to do Advent for Code today and not fail miserably. That's the plan. But first, I'm gonna eat this orange and I'm gonna drink a little bit of this Gatorade. I'm gonna try to get the lead out because for whatever reason, yesterday must have took it out of me. I spent most of the day yesterday at work just staring at the same like 10 set of files, trying to figure out how I was going to properly unit test something that wasn't really written to ever be unit testable. And I think it killed my brain. I think it used up all of the energy in my body. I mean, how is it possible that like sitting in a chair staring at a screen can actually make you tired? Oblivious, that is so felt. I'm glad it resonates with somebody. Guys, bro, why do you use PowerShell instead of an IDE? It's not that I don't use IDEs. Like yesterday, when I was staring at those same 10 files, I was in Visual Studio all day. So I use IDEs. And I use other text editors. I use VS Code quite a bit. But I started using so this isn't, just to be clear too, this is NeoVim, which is a terminal-based editor running in PowerShell. So I'm not actually like using PowerShell to program. I'm using NeoVim to program, or at least right now I'm using NeoVim. And NeoVim's a very extensible fork of Vim, so you can basically make NeoVim like kind of a Visual Studio experience. But why use it? I don't really have a good intellectual reason, just because it's fun and it was interesting and it was something different and it was like a side quest. You know, it's fun to take side quests every now and again. Byte Slayer, some days were hard. I invested quite a lot of time into AOC. I even made my own CLI tool to be faster. If I want to do something, I don't stop. That's why I kept on going, even though some of it was exhausting. Well, dude, that's a superpower. Being able to persevere and stick to something and see it through and be consistent. That's a superpower, man. So good on you. You just gotta be careful, right? You just don't wanna trash yourself so that you can't actually stick around for many years. I once had the thought to write tests for a Discord bot. Then I remembered didn't want to write my own Discord API demo for testing, especially after they known for not sticking to docs. Yeah, the disc. So what I ended up doing was when I built my Discord bot to test the connection logic that I implemented, I ended up mocking everything. Or basically, I didn't end up mocking everything. I ended up mocking the Discord client, and it was a little bit of a chore to do that. But yeah, trying to find a way to test something that was never really written to be unit testable is not. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because you feel like, well, if I could just refactor these bits of code, but that's not really like when you're adding tests, you don't really want to change production code. It'd be much better to add the tests, get the test working, and then refactor. But yeah, it's not really the idea. Muaz, no, I meant in your live streams. Let's see. In my live streams, it's mainly just whatever I'm feeling that day. Like we've programmed with Visual Studio Code before on stream. I'm using NeoVim a lot right now because in advent of code, I'm using Go, and so there's nothing really that I need to do with Go and any other text editor. So that's why we're using NeoVim. It's not super intellectual though, bro. It's just like, this is fun. I like it. Good morning, Thunder Deer. How are you? Tad, I hope you're doing well. Good morning to you as well. I'm doing fine this morning. I'm a little tired, just not like anything specific, just I don't know. Some days you'd like to sleep an extra 15, 30 minutes, and today was one of those days. Bite Slayer, well, it may be a superpower, but I spent much time designing everything. Sometimes I even spent for time engineering the perfect solution, and I spent coding. That's my biggest flaw. Well, I wouldn't call that a flaw though, man. Wouldn't call that a flaw. I think it's a superpower that you can definitely leverage, right? You just have to understand how much to use of it and when to use it, right? Cyberlanka, are you on holidays? Not yet. So actually, my kids have today. They have today and a half day tomorrow, and then my kids and my wife are off. My wife works at my kids' school, so basically my kids' schedule is my wife's schedule and vice versa. So they have today and a half day tomorrow, and then they're off for 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks and some change. And then I have work today and tomorrow, and then I'm off all of next week for Christmas holiday. I might take off some time during the week of New Year's. The thing is, the weird thing about working in a corporate setting is it doesn't really make a ton of time to like really take days off during the holidays because nobody's there anyways. So it doesn't really matter. In most cases, it doesn't really matter what you're doing during those days because, greater than 50% of the company is out of the office anyways. I'm just wondering if you'd ever go full-time creating content or creating your own startups. I'm sure you have the skills. I don't know if I'd ever go full-time. I mean, when you think about like the risk you're taking going full-time and something like that, I mean, I have 2 kids and a wife, right? So I need healthcare. I need some sort of retirement plan, right? So the amount of money, so I'd have to basically replace my current salary plus 30-40%, right? Because I have to pay for health insurance out of pocket, which is very expensive here in the United States. And then I'd also need to take care of my own retirement plans, right? Which wouldn't really be additional cost, but still it adds risk in a situation where I'm not really tolerant of risk, right? Like if I screw up and I can't provide for, or if I can't make money that provides for our overhead, then it's not just me who suffers, it's my wife, it's my 2 kids, So like right now at this stage of my life, it's all about creating stability and security. So I don't think there's a point in time in the next 9 years, right, while my kids are home, 9, 10 years, where I'd consider doing that full time. Uh, Unless something wild happened. You know what I mean? Like if I was making thousands and thousands of dollars a month on YouTube, yeah, but I don't think that's in the cards. Um, yeah, I don't think that's in the cards. As far as like a startup, I would love to have some sort of business. I would love to have my own business. That feels far less risky, but it's probably equally as risky, but it feels far less risky than doing content creation full time. But I would love to have a startup. I don't, again, it's like there's this balance. There's this balance between risk and reward, right? And right now, the risk of trying to do my own thing instead of just being an employee seems really great, or seems too high. But doesn't mean while I work for somebody else, I can't be working on my own thing. So I'd love to have a small business. I'd love to have like a micro SaaS that makes like $1,000 extra a month. I think that'd be awesome. Which AOC day are you doing today? I'm doing day 9, part 2. So this will actually, if I solve today, so if we go by the old system, right? If we go by the old system and we say every part in the 12-day puzzle cycle is equal to 2 days from last year, we would technically be on day 18 of Advent of Code, and that's the farthest I've ever gotten in Advent of Code. So this would be a new PR for me. I got 2.5 weeks off. That's pretty baller, man. I think my brother's wife's company actually shuts down during the holidays, if I remember right, which I think is so cool. It's like the company's like, well, you're all gonna be gone anyways. Just fuck it. Let's just close the building for 2 weeks anyways. Cyberlink, you never know. I mean, you never do know, but I tend to be a pretty like sensible, you know, like I tend to make the safer decision, and so I'm betting on the probabilities. The probabilities are that I will not be a full-time content creator ever. Yeah, I hate the idea of a great developer stuck in a corporate job. Creating your own startup in the background would be cool. Could be a good series to document. Oh yeah, I'd love to. If I came up with an idea like that, I would definitely build it on stream and I would share it publicly for sure. The thing for me has been not that I can't build one, it's coming up with an idea that I feel excited enough about that I actually want to, first, I want to build it, and two, that I think people would actually pay for it. And I know that some of that is just getting in my own way. Some of it's just me in my own head, probably overthinking it too much. Like people who want to make content, but they're not sure what content to make. And it's like, well, just start. And so I probably need to take the Peter Levels approach and just start churning out project after project after project and just see what hits. I'm grateful I don't have to pay for health insurance here in Germany. I'm building up my own startup. I'm lucky my parents always supported me. Dude, that's such a blessing. I mean, that's a blessing all the way around, but having parents that are like, we got you. That's what a blessing, man. Also, W for Germany on taking care of your health insurance. I do not understand why the United States cannot figure that shit out. Like this whole third party payer health system we have going on, the fucking nightmare, man. The best part is I'm only using 5 days of PTO for 2.5 weeks. Okay, that's some strategic use of PTO time right there. We need some claps for that, man. Uh, for sure, we need some claps for that. 5 days for 2.5 weeks. W Thunder Deer. W. That's such a good feeling as a corporate employee. It's like, how can I place these PTO days on the calendar to get the most to get it's like that really should be some sort of like programming challenge. Somebody needs to come up with a leak code problem where you have to write some algorithm to figure that out. Yeah, USA health insurance is insane. It is insane. It's insane how much it costs. It's insane how much it costs to have health insurance. It's insane how much you still pay for healthcare even with insurance. It's just the whole thing. It's definitely not set. It's definitely not set up to serve the patients or us. It's for sure set up to serve the insurance companies and the healthcare companies. You know. Oh yeah, I calculated this last January. Dude, you were cooking. You were cooking, bro. I love that. All right, so we read part two and see how difficult this is going to be. Part one was actually really straightforward, so I'm kind of suspicious part two is going to be like, gotcha. You thought you were home safe. Is the insurance premiums going up next year? I feel for you, man. Yeah, they're going up. Our HR person said that all the brokers that she's talked to say that probably we're gonna see a 20 to 30% premium in our or 30% increase in our premiums. 20 to 30%. I've been to the doctor once this fucking year. You know what I mean? That's fucking nuts. And it's preventative. It's preventative. I just it's awful. The problem is that we have a I'm gonna head off to I'm gonna head off. I've got a college project due. Best of luck with admin code. Thank you, Tad. Thanks, man. Good luck with your college project, dude. Appreciate hanging out. The thing with healthcare in the United States is that we have an ever growing population of older, unhealthy folk all the time. And we have an ever shrinking population of people to take care of them in terms of like doctors, nurses, just all the infrastructure of our healthcare. And then on top of that, we have these insurance companies that are far more worried about profit than they are worried about anything else. It's just, yeah, it's just not a good system. And we continue to use it. I have no idea. NG Tauntaun. Time to switch to Linux Ubuntu, sir. Not yet, not yet. Remember I told you guys we'll switch to Linux as a daily driver whenever I get my next laptop. The next laptop I will set up as a Linux machine. I'll do all the things and but I'm not giving up my Windows desktop quite yet. Wow, that's dumb. The worst part is, what are you gonna do? Skip health insurance? Exactly. You can't skip health, and and that's the thing. It's like you can't skip it. If you have it, you should have it because the impact that a catastrophic health emergency can have on you financially is just it will bankrupt you. I mean, you can still go bankrupt even with health insurance, but at least there's your downside somewhat protected. My wife and I's approach has been so I have pretty good benefits. I know you guys care about this a lot, but we have pretty good benefits where I work, and what we do is basically the company pays for a portion of our healthcare. Um, so what we do is we buy like the lowest cost, high deductible plan, and that is an HSA eligible plan. And then there's also like a buy up, like a premium plan, and there's a delta here. And so what we do is we pay for the lower cost plan, which has higher deductibles, but they're not terrible. Higher deductibles, but not terrible. And then the delta that's between this plan and the higher cost plan, we put that delta of money into an HSA account. And HSA accounts here in the United States are pretty cool because you can put money in tax free and you can take it out tax-free for healthcare cost, and while it's in the account, you can actually invest it and grow it. So that's what we've done over the last 5 or 6 years. Is we do pay a premium every month, but then whatever difference we would have been paying to get the higher plan with the lower deductible, we take that money every month and stick it into the HSA. And we just we do our best to try to cash flow all our healthcare expenses, and then we just let that money sit there and grow. But there's not, I mean, health insurance is just, there's no real good way to win at it. It just is what it is, right? It's a systemic societal problem that it's very hard to solve on an individual level. Steve, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate you. Germany also has some flaws, but one of its biggest strengths is definitely the health system. Everyone has public health insurance, and most of the treatments are affordable even without insurance. That's baller, man. I'm jealous. I'm jelly. If you try Linux and want to have some fun, go with something like Arch, NixOS, Gentoo, or if you want something more user-friendly, I recommend OpenSUSE or SUSE. I don't know how you say that. Okay. Yeah, I think I was thinking just doing the Omarchy thing, because the Omarchy thing looks cool and it looks like a lot of stuff comes just put together in a nice way for me. But we're probably a little ways away from that project. I don't know when I'll get a laptop next. Do Omarchy. Yeah, there you go. Stefan and me are on the same wavelength. Dake, which country are you from? Well, I have a command for that, actually. If you ask Stream Elements and you say, where bro at, Stream Elements will actually hook you up with a bunch of details. It'll tell you my time zone, the weather, where I'm at. But I'm basically in Kansas City, Kansas, in the United States of America, if you know where that is. All right, let's figure out what part 2 is about here. The elves just remembered they can only switch out tiles that are red or green. So your rectangle can only include red or green tiles. In your list, every red tile is connected to the red tile before and after it. A straight line of green tiles. Hold on, what? Every red tile is connected to the red tile before and after it by a straight line of green tiles. The list wraps. So the first red tile is also connected to the last red tile. The tiles that are adjacent in your list will always be on either of the same row or the same column. Hold on. The tiles that are adjacent in your list will always be on either the same row or the same column. Using the same example as before, the tiles marked X would be green. In addition, all the tiles inside this loop of red and green tiles are also green. So in this example, these are the green tiles. The remaining tiles are never red nor green. The rectangle you choose still must have red tiles in opposite corners, but any other tiles it includes must now be red or green. This significantly limits your options. Lightnings, G39, thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate you. For example, you could make a rectangle out of red and green tiles with an area of 15, or you can make a thin rectangle with an area of 3. The largest rectangle you can make in this example using only red and green tiles has area 24. One way to do this is between 9, 5, and 2, 3. Using 2 red tiles as opposite corners, what is the largest area of rectangles you can make using only red and green tiles? Like, I read that whole thing and I'm not sure I totally understood. Okay, so basically we're doing the same calculation, but they put some constraints on they put some constraints on it. So let me see if I understand the constraints. So how does this originally start? Okay. So the red. All right. So basically, what they said was, if I'm understanding correctly, is they're saying these are our original red tiles. The red tiles are all connected by green tiles, right? So basically, if we know where the red tiles are, we know where the green tiles are. And then everything inside there is also a green tile. So how does I don't understand how this differs at all from the previous problem though. Like how does that constraint Oh, so you basically have to find like the smallest rectangle within this shape. Yeah, because like previously you could have connected. Why is my keyboard not working? There we go. So basically, previously you could have connected this guy and this guy, right? But you can't do that anymore because these guys are not in, right? So then you're limited to just this. So this is opposite, 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 opposite. So I guess we could still do this in kind of a brute force way, couldn't we? Well, this was definitely what I thought it was going to be. This was definitely them like, hey, part one's really easy, and then part two is like, gotcha. You can also solve AOC puzzles in reverse if you have someone's input and answer. I did that one time. Nice. That's why I guess you're not supposed to share the inputs. Glazern, I don't know why the command's response is so funny to me. The weather is currently Olathe, United. Oh, that might be because. Let me look. That might be because I didn't type it right. because in stream elements you have this way to like define how your command, what your commands do, and there's some variables that you can inject into the commands. Let me see if that's something I can fix. It definitely doesn't read right. You're 100% right with that. Let's see, where bro at? Yeah, I don't know why they put that in there. It does read funny, but I'm not sure how to phrase it so that it doesn't read funny. The weather is... Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it for now because I don't even know how I would word that better. Okay. Half of me kind of wants to, half of me, the first thing I want to do, I don't know if it's helpful at all, but half of me wants to basically be able to print this shape. All right. Well, I guess there's no easy way to solve this, so it's just gonna have to get started. Thank you, Copilot. Appreciate your help with that. Now you can go to sleep. Silencio. We don't actually expect 0. We expect 24 is what we expect. Just gave me a laugh. That's all. Oh yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, I mean it's a good point. I mean I didn't, I guess, ever pay attention to the message well enough. All right, so I'm just gonna draw the shape they have real quick. So we basically have a shape that looks like this. So, and then we have some X marks the spot, right? We have like a corner here, we got a corner over here, we got a corner over here. Now, I think the interesting thing to think about is what defines a rectangle, right? Now, kind of like what we were doing in the previous problem is we were basically just taking it for granted and we're calculating the, whoops, not that. We're calculating the distance between, you know, let's say we're looking at this guy and let's say we're looking at this guy. Right now what we're doing is we're basically saying, okay, for sure, these guys are in, right? But what we really want to do is we actually want to find the other points of our rectangle, right? So if we know these are red tiles, right? And we know this is a red tile, then what we really want to do is we want to get these values and these values. And then we want to check and see if this rectangle fits into our overall shape. So, for example, if we're looking at 0, if we're looking at this red tile and this red tile, okay, great. That allows us to calculate the area, right? But now we also need to know the bounds of this rectangle. So how far does it go to the left? How far does it go to the right? Or actually, in this case, we want to know how far it goes to the right and how far does it go down, which we kind of know. Well, we kind of know all that, right? And so then how would we figure out if this square goes inside the rest of it? I think this is where we need to track. So we're gonna have a max column or max row, and then we're gonna have a min row. We're gonna have a min column and a max column, right? And so we just need to make sure that everything falls within those maxes. So let's take, for example, the one that doesn't work from last time, right? So this guy and this guy, these opposites right here that made 50. Theoretically, if we were to calculate that again, how we would know this wouldn't work is we'd say, okay, that's an area of 50, but we know it doesn't work because the opposite coordinate, the top left corner, isn't in bounds, right? It's not within the minimum. Yeah. I think I have a beat on this. Let's see. I think I have a beat on this. Neil, good morning, Steven. Day 2 of the algo joining us. Yes, we're doing day 9, part 2. Okay, so I think I have a beat. So the first thing I want to do is pretty similar to part 1. And in this case, I am gonna pull out the points package. So we're gonna do points. Whoops. We're gonna say points or position. Did I call it position? Yeah, I guess I called it position. And we'll say this is position dot position. And then instead of doing this, I'm gonna do position from passing our X, passing our Y. P. I guess we should probably rename this too. Let's do positions. And then we'll do number of positions. this will be row. This is essentially the same thing. I'm just using a package we built earlier to represent this. And this actually should be swapped. This should be column because column is X and row is Y. And that should still pass. Go test. Yep, that still passes, but the day 2 starts. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact thing. But now we're going to have some constraints. We don't need to track the largest area anymore. Excuse me. Neil Thompson, you mentioned being slow at coding. Does that mean you're also resisting vibe typing tools such as Whisperflow? I've never heard of Whisperflow. It's not that so much I'm resisting any type of vibe typing. Like I do use Copilot. Copilot definitely does make me faster, you know. I just mean slow in the sense that, like, when I watch other developers work, sometimes I feel like, wow, those guys are flying, you know? And sometimes I don't feel like I'm flying. But I've never heard of Whisperflow. What's that? Whisperflow. Effortless voice dictation. Oh, is this what people are using to, like, when I see videos of people like talking to their agents and they're like, cursor, now please move that class to the models folder and add a new function called yada yada yada. Yeah, I probably won't be coding like that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of dictating. When I was a scribe, when I was a medical scribe, doctors actually had the choice. They could either do their own charts using like a Dragon transcription tool, or they could work with an actual scribe. And the majority of people chose a scribe over using the Dragon software. I think it's called Dragon, right? That's the Dragon software. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Dragon. Yeah. But yeah, I probably will not be doing that. That does not sound like a good experience to me. But I love it for other people, you know? I love it for other people. Assuming they also enjoy it, you know? Oh, whoops. Actually, we do need to keep track of the largest area. That's still what we're returning. However, what we want to find out is we want to find out the opposite corners, right? So this is our start and this is our end. But we want to find out, what are we going to call this? We want to find out we're going to need to loop again. Let's see. Let's do X, or let's do rows, or row positions, which is going to be slice of these, and then we're going to do also one for column positions. And we are going to loop over all of our positions Socris, Socris, Scorus, maybe is how you say that. Thank you for subbing. Appreciate that. So what we want to do is we want to find the min and max of our rows and the min and max of our columns. That's what we want to find. So I'm going to do this in kind of the simplest way I can think of off the top of my head. It probably can be more efficient. So I'm going to do row position is going to be position.row. And then column positions is going to be position.column. And then we're going to say, give me the min row. Maybe there's a min. So we'll say row position min. We'll say max row is slices dot min. I wonder if there's a way to do this. We could probably actually do this in a single iteration, can't we? So let's say we start min row equals 0, min column also equals 0, then max row and min row. We don't know how big our grid is, though, do we? Do they tell us that? They don't tell us that, do they? And we can't infer that from... Yeah, I wonder how he knew what size to make this grid. I mean, he couldn't have, right? He just kind of picked something random. So I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, so then we'll do it the other way. We'll do it like this: row positions, and then we'll do the same thing for column. The whole idea here is basically the max and the min I can use to establish the bounds of whatever shape I have available to me. And then I can make sure okay. And then I need to figure out start what would you call the position not opposite but right above, right? So what would you call if this is your start? Let me see. If this is your start position, let's say this is your start position and this is your end position. What do you call this position? Do you call this start opposite? But that doesn't really... Yeah, I guess I could call it start opposite and then end opposite. Hey, what's up, Gun? Good to see you, man. It is I again. It is you again. I need to blow my nose real quick. I'll be right back. Oh, you have a runny nose? That sucks, dude. You think you might be sick? That's the worst. That's the worst. Okay. I'm just gonna calculate the. I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna calculate the. I'm gonna call these start op, and this is gonna be end op. And these are also positions. So the start position is just going to be, the start opposite position is just wherever the start is, we will say start dot column, no, row. Hold on, this has to be smarter than what I'm thinking. So if I want to calculate, if this is my start, and I want to get this position, then I need to basically take the same column, but the ends row, right? Yeah, same column, but ends row. And does that work everywhere? So start would be same column, end row. Same column, end row. Yeah. So this would be start. Opposite would be position dot from start dot or no in dot row start dot column. And then to get the ends opposite, so if I'm calling this my end position, I want to get the start row and the end column. Start row, end column. So then what we need to make sure and check now is, do the 4 positions that define the bounds of this rectangle fit within the max bounds of our positions, right? Right? Right, guys? Right? Right? I believe so. Got to do some garlic stuff. Oh, you stick the garlic up your nose? Does that actually work? I've seen TikTok videos of people doing that. I've never tried it myself. Good morning, Wilo Gamer Pro. Good to see you, man. How are you doing? I hope life is treating you well. Okay, so I guess what we'll do is we'll just say area positions equals a slice of positions, and we'll just initialize that to start, end, start, oh, not start, end. This should be end. Start opposite and end opposite. And then we'll loop over those. We'll say for each AP range over the area positions, and basically do a bounds check that says okay, but how do I break? Okay, so if, say I do find a okay, I'm actually gonna do this a little simpler to make the continuation of the loop a little bit easier to manage to start with. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna check. So I'm gonna say if the start oh, we actually only have to check the opposites, right? Because we know start and end are in there because they make up the bounds. So start, we just need to check start, opposite, and start in. So if start op dot row is greater than our max row, or if start op dot row is less than our min row, then we can't do anything with this rectangle. And then if start column is greater than our max column, and start column is less than our max column, either one of those is true. Why is this complaining? Invalid operation start. Oh, that's because this is a method call. And then we'll do the same thing, but we'll just do it with the end. I think this will work. I'm not sure though. I'm not confident. Yeah, there's a difference between having an idea for something and then actually being confident that your idea is actually going to work. Yeah, like that. If any of those things are true, then we skip it and we track the largest area. Oh, this should be min. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's see. No, okay. So let's do a little bit of print debugging. So what do we want to do? We want to basically capture what should we capture in our print statement? So let's say our print statement is checking area for start and end. And then let's do format.println row violation start op row violation, like that. Do start op column violation. End row. This seems like it should be correct. But it seems like everything is violating those cases. Start op row violation. Checking area for 7.1 and 11.1. The start op row. We should probably print what the violation value was. So we should probably say start op row. And we probably should also get the max row and the min row. Start. This is why you need a debugger, folks. Max column, min column, end op row, max. Max row, min row. That should be a little bit more helpful. Good morning, Volks. Good morning, Artwork Studios. Good to see you guys. Simplicity maxing. We are simplicity maxing. Oh, I think I see the issue. I'm using min. So this should be max. And this should be max. It's a pretty silly mistake on my part. Okay. So we're still getting 50, but we wanted 20. So we're not detecting the things that violate. I guess we are detecting it in some cases, but not in the right cases. So this violates the column because our min column is 2. So what is our min column in this situation? So our min column 0, 1, 2. It is 2, right? Our max column should be 11. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's correct. So let's find the position that it says that it can still make this. So it's saying 2 and 5 and 11 and 1 are still possible. Let's see, 2, 5, where is that? 2, 5. Oh no, it violates. So how are we getting 50 still? Do any of these result in 50? Whoops. Whoopsies. We continue. Checking error. Let me move our print, or let me move our print statement down a little bit and let me include the area. So we'll just go ahead and pre-calculate the area so that we can print it. And then let's say checking area for start and end with area of A. Now we can figure out which one of these is giving the 50. Okay, 11,723 is giving us 50. And is that a valid spot? I actually don't know. So let's do another print here that says format print line has a star op of star op and end op of end op. So we are looking for the one that says 50. So this has a start op of 2.7 and an end op of 11.3. So let's try to plot that real quick on the grid here. So what we're saying is 11.7. So which one is this? 11.7 is this guy, right? No, this guy. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then it has 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so it's this guy. So what we're saying is the opposite of this is what? Is this. No, that's not right, is it? Star opposite of 11.7 shouldn't be 7.7, should it? Well, I guess it depends on what the other pair is, right? That's why. So it depends on the other pair. So if this is 11-7 is our start, and 7-3 is our end. So 7-3 is what? Um, 0, 1, 2, 3. It's here. So 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. 0, 1, 2. So we're looking at this guy right here. That's who we're looking at. So technically, the opposite of you so you're my end position. So the opposite of you is 11-3. Well, that's not right, is it? What comes first in these positions? Let's see. Let's go to... Can we print... How do we control how something prints in Go? I think we have to implement a particular interface. I think it's called string or something like that. Good morning, Suhas. How are you? Yes, I am indeed a fellow coffee goblin. Let's see, Volk. Why am I forced to work with others in the university? They are stupid as fuck. I'm about to lose my shit. They don't even know what a pipeline is and how to create an epic, issues, MRs. Not even been able to code properly. It's all on me now to save my grade. Oh, that's stressful, man. That's super fucking stressful. I feel for you, bro. Let's see. Go how to control print statements. I thought there was like a stringer interface. Go stringer interface. Yeah, this is what we want. So we just need to implement the string method. So let's go down here and let's say type, or no, func v position string, and this is going to be a string, and we'll say return sprint or format.sprintf. And we'll say row %d and column %d p dot row p dot column. Let's rerun this and see if it prints differently. Okay, it prints differently, but then now it's kind of hard to read. See if I can make this a little more terse. The reason the universities want you to work with others is to get good at working with shitty people because in real life, real life is full of them. Oh man. It's such not an optimistic way to think of the world, but you're not wrong. You, my good friend, are not wrong. Yeah, you have to learn. You have to learn to work with difficult folks. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. All right, I'm gonna try to a much smaller subset of cases. So this one is caught. This one is not, right? And so this is the one where we're kind of confused about why it's allowing it to go through based on the checks that we've written. Which means, let's see if I can plot this really quick. So we are looking at row 11, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold on, wait. Do I have my shit backwards? Checking area for row 11. We should never have a row 11. We could have a column 11, but we shouldn't have a row 11. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. This shit's backwards. Y is our row, X is our column. Okay, let's yeah, we still get the same issue though, I think. Yeah, we still have the same issue. So now we should not have that. It shouldn't be a thing. Why is that still a thing? Oh, because I'm looking at the wrong thing. Jesus Christ, man, I'm all over the place today. Using any MPCs or MCPs these days? The only one that I use really a lot is GitHub. But that one's kind of baked into Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. Like, I think it just comes out of the box with those. I use that one a lot. And when I say I use it, it's not that I really use it. It's just it's on a lot of the times when I'm talking to Copilot. But no, other than that, I don't use really much. I mean, again, like my workflow is just not heavily built around interacting with AI agents that much. For better or for worse, it's just not. Which is not like that's not like a commentary on people who do use agentic development, you know? I think there's nothing, if that's the way you like to work and you found a lot of value in it, more power to you. I just haven't myself. Any recommendations for using other people's? Any recommendations for what? Hold on. Yeah, problem is project is due in 4 weeks. They have 3 to 4 commits. I made everything right now. I'm losing out. About to write the prof to get graded by self, not the group. That's rough, man. I don't miss those times at all. I'm not jealous of you. Isn't it easier to use CLS to clear the terminal instead of clear? I don't know if that is that command there. I guess it's easier. I guess I just have the habit of typing clear. But I mean, when I think that this question, Cyrus, Cyrus. I'm gonna say Cyrus. That question is such a programmer question because we're talking about 3 letters versus 5 letters. uh, so yeah, I guess it's I don't know if either of them are easier. But that does take less keystrokes. But I guess my muscle memory is built up around using clear for whatever reason. But that's one of those micro optimizations that only a programmer would care about. You typed 3 more letters than you needed to. Oh yeah, I was gonna try this again. So go test. Okay, this time we got 0. So not everything is getting thrown out. But we have the row and the column in the right place now. Which is good. But what we need to do is we need to make sure, yeah, that's correct. So now what we need to do is we need to look for the area that equals 24, because we know that's what we should be returning in this case, and see why it's getting violated. So this is the case they use in the example, 9, 5, and 2, 3. I should probably flip the way these are printed, shouldn't I? So that they match the way they describe the problem. Yeah, I'm gonna flip those print statements so that they don't confuse me. I'm already confused. So this is gonna be column and row. This will be column. This will be row. Saving keystrokes is really good. Yeah, I don't know, but 3 keystrokes? I don't know, man. That seems a little bit like a micro optimization. MCPs made by other people. Oh, I don't have any real recommendations on other MCPs. I haven't used them a ton. You know, that's the thing. I've used GitHubs. I used the Playwright one a little bit one time just to kind of like experiment with it, but I haven't really found a use case in it in everyday life. But so I don't really have any recommendations there. What do you do for work? I work as a quality engineer. So you can look at my LinkedIn here. linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com, and you can creep on my professional history all you'd like to there. You can even send me a connection if you'd like to be connected on LinkedIn. Anyway, Steven, what happened to the horizontal streams? Well, we tried it and it bombed. So we tried it and it bombed, so we've not doing it. What I might do is I might do horizontal streams and just make them members only, and if you want to hang out with me on a horizontal stream, you can become a member. Maybe I'll make that a member benefit. Because a lot of people say they want horizontal streams, but whenever I do horizontal streams, nobody shows up. So I guess take that for what it's worth. What do you think about me recruiting a service skull from Warhammer 40,000? I don't know anything about Warhammer 40,000. Cyrus, add Twitch like Pirate Software, mostly code stuff, fun chat plus gaming. Yeah, so I originally started streaming on Twitch. That's originally where I started last year during Advent of Code 2024. I streamed it all to Twitch, and then I uploaded the streams to YouTube as VODs. But Twitch was always dead. There's no one there. There's nobody to interact with. It's just a ghost town, which you know, which wasn't fun. It was way more fun to have people to talk to. Yeah, my journey, my platform journey went like this. It was Twitch, then it was YouTube, then it was YouTube and TikTok, which is how I ended up on a vertical format. And then I dropped TikTok and just kept YouTube in a vertical format. So that's how the current that's how we got to the current state of the stream. So we want 9, 5, and 2, 3. So that's this one, the second one here. So 9, 5, 2, 3. So 9, 5 is here. And 2, 3 is here. And so we said we have a start opposite of 9, 3. Is that true? Do we have a start opposite of 9, 3? We do. And we have an end opposite of 2, 5. 2, 5. And we're saying we have a start opposite column violation. And why do we have a start opposite column violation? So we're saying a column of 9 Okay, interesting. So we're saying we have a max column of 7, but that's not right. Our max column should be 11. So where did we get that? So that's our max. So where did we get max column of 7? Or how did we get a max column of 7? So row positions, yep. Column positions, yep. So we would expect our minimum column to be 2 and our max column to be 11. So why are we returning something different here? Yeah, so the first part is our x, which we pass as the column to our position. And the second one is our y. That doesn't make any sense. I guess more printing is in the works. So let's do format.print line row positions and format.print line column positions. Steven, do you consider yourself an pessimist, an optimist, or realist, or pessimist? I'm probably not. Oh, that's weird. These are like the same values. What the fuck? What's happening? Gosh dang it. That's why. Man, I made a lot of dumb mistakes just with typing the wrong things. I was like, damn, so basically both of the bugs were I flipped the X and the Y for the rows and columns when I switched over to using my positions representation or my positions package. And then I also was not building up a list of column positions. I was just adding everything into the row positions. So that's wonderful. And then I was assigning the row positions to the column positions. Okay, so I probably don't want to leave these print statements in here for now, so I'm just going to comment them out. Oops, I'm going to comment them out. As Suas, in terms of your question about pessimist, I think my natural state is to be pretty pessimistic. My mom is a fairly pessimistic person, and so I think my natural state has been to be a very pessimistic person. But over the last, I don't know, 9-10 years, I've tried to be more optimistic. The biggest influence on me from that perspective has been this guy on the internet named Gary Vaynerchuk, which I'm sure some of you know and some of you have big feelings about. I think he's pretty fucking awesome. But he has this thing he says a lot where he's basically like, you know, all the negative things and all the pessimism that you have in your mind is probably true. There's probably a lot to be said about thinking about the downside and the negative. But the fact of the matter is that thinking about it and dwelling on it doesn't change it, right? There's no reason to focus on the negative because it doesn't help you and it doesn't change the fact that it exists, right? So you're much better off trying to focus your time and your energy and your thoughts on the optimistic outcomes and the optimistic things, because at least then you feel better and you feel better about life and your future. So like that's like a good example of that would be like all coders are pessimistic. Nice. Hey, what's up, Krapan? I'll say Krapan. Finally got time to join the stream again. Nice. Well, good to see you, dude. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I would say probably, yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about being somebody who can acknowledge the downsides. But a good example of this, what I'm trying to express, is I think the pessimist in me looks at all this shit that's going on with AI, and I think, oh man, this is going to be so bad and so terrible, and lots of people are going to lose their jobs, and I see all the negatives of it. But the truth of the matter is, focusing all that doesn't do anything to change it. So I might as well focus on the stuff that I feel good about and optimistic about and can actually have an influence on or control, and be optimistic that AI is actually going to be a good thing. It's going to help people and it's going to make the world maybe a better place, right? So like it's not blind. That, I guess that's the way to put it. It's not blind optimism. It's optimism in the sense that I'm very clearly acknowledging all the negatives, but I'm choosing not to spend time on them. I'm actively trying to not focus on them. All right, let's give this a run, I guess, against our real input and see what happens. We'll see if there's an edge case I missed, which there most likely is, because that has been the story of Advent of Code this year for me. Basically, realism then. Yeah, I think that's fair. You can say realism. Let's see, we got 0 but wanted -1. Well, that can't be right. That can't be right. I'm not going to do this. Have you ever taken interest in machine learning and neural networks? I guess with the AI bubble growing, people just look at it as a magic box, which just gives good answers. Yeah, I think people, I think generally in the zeitgeist, people understand that it is somewhat of a black box, but they don't really understand how you arrive at the black box, right? They don't know all the inner workings. I do definitely have taken an interest. I tried to uh, I bought this book this year. It's called Build a Large Language Model. So it's not really like foundational ML stuff or neural network stuff, but it's basically trying to help you understand how these transformers work or how they're architected. And so I would love to know more about that. You know, I'd like to spend some more dedicated time kind of upskilling in that area. There's just so much to learn, right? There's just so many different things I could spend my time focusing on, and the challenge for me right now is just hours in the day. I don't think I'd want to work in machine learning, but um, I would love to be able to hold a stronger conversation about it. You know, like I'd like to be able to sit down and ask more intelligent questions um, than what I currently am able to do. The other problem with machine learning is if you get into machine learning, I have to make peace with Python. Okay, so this is definitely not possible. There's no way we got 0, right? So now I'm at this point where it's like, well, great. How do I troubleshoot this? Um, hmm. This is always my biggest issue with admin of code is like, what's the right way when you don't know what the answer should be and the input is too large for you to really make sense of by just looking at it? What's the best way to go about troubleshooting the the issue? Painful, bro. Painful. This has happened to me like every day of admin of code. Solve it with the example. It doesn't work for the input. So, it's so fucking frustrating. I'll be honest. It's so fucking frustrating. What got me so interested in NML is T-sodding machine learning in C series. I literally sat down, made an XOR neural network after watching that. It really gives you good insight to how it basically works. T-sodding. Let me hold on. Let me T-sodding. I don't know C though. Will that be a blocker? T-sodding machine learning. I don't know C. Machine learning in C. This must be a playlist. Okay. I'll put it on my wall. I don't know C, but maybe I can at least follow the words to some extent. How do I do like there we go. Save playlist. This there's 2 years old, but I'm sure it's still relevant. Yeah. I'll take a peek. But yeah, I would definitely. I mean, it's definitely very interesting. I just don't know if I want to spend a I don't want to be an expert in ML, but I would like to like be able to hold a conversation with an expert, right? Like I'd like to be able to ask that expert questions and understand what that expert is trying to explain to me. Low key, this day has the most amounts of edge cases that the starting example simply doesn't show. Uh, that's painful, bro. It's painful. Okay, so basically I'm missing edge cases that I'm not thinking about. Um, okay, so I'm doing a bounds check. I'm basically at the very simplest, what I'm doing is I'm taking a rectangle and then I'm trying to see if that rectangle can fit into the bounds as I've described them. And so then the question becomes, is that enough to solve the problem? Hmm. I wonder if instead of checking, I wonder if instead of checking, let's look at these grids again. I wonder if what I'm wondering is if it I wonder if it wouldn't make it round. So I'm wondering if it would make sense to first check if the edges of my shape, what do I want to call this, my polygon, if the edges of my polygon intersect with the rectangle, instead of doing what I'm doing with the bounds checking. Okay, it can't hurt. I'm also wondering if I shouldn't use the center of the rectangle instead of the edges, right? So we could say, hey, are you inside the polygon? Great. Or is your center inside the polygon? Great. And do any of your edges intersect with the rectangle's edges? Why did this feel easy, but it's not easy? And now I kind of wish I would have. At this point, what's interesting is I kind of wish I would take the time to print the grid in its current state so that I can visualize it. Because I think visually debugging this stuff is far easier than trying to you know, visually debugging would allow you to catch, okay, when do we detect a violation and then print the state and see if it's actually a violation or not. But I also feel like that would take some time. That would take time that I don't want to spend doing. But now I'm wasting time thinking about what to do. C is not a blocker. It just gives you straight function to function, zero dependencies. It covers linear regression and logical regression. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I might need to brush up on my maths too. I think my hang up at the moment is that I don't understand why my process wouldn't work. Because basically what I'm doing is I'm checking oh shit. Okay. I think I just realized what the edge case that I'm probably missing is. So imagine this edge case. So since we're dealing with a polygon, let's just say we have a shape like this. Okay. So let's say our bounds actually don't look like this is how it shows in the example, is it shows us a polygon like this, right? Basically. Let's fill these in. This is tricky. This is very tricky of them. How do I fill this? There we go. No, I want to fill the existing one. There we go. This. Like this, right? So this is kind of our existing shape here that we're working with in the example. But imagine for a minute that our example actually looked like this. And not only like that, but imagine it looks like this. Like a U. Right? So if we do my algorithm, so let's say this is the area I'm looking at. We'll make this green. Whoops, nope. Make this green. So imagine this is the area I'm looking at, right? Well, what's the issue here? Well, the issue is, okay, that will be caught. That will be caught, right? This would be in, this would be in, right? But in this case, we wouldn't catch this, right? Why wouldn't we catch this? Well, that's because it's spanning the polygon. So the four corners are in because we're in the min, we're in the max, right? But there's this huge gap area here in the middle. So how would we handle this case? So the corner detection still works. But I think, like I said, maybe the center is a better proxy. So if the center is geometrically in, then we know we're inside the polygon. let's say let's say I'm here. This is not technically in, right? So if we're sitting like this in the U, this wouldn't be in. You know what? I just realized that the best way to debug this would have been to create the input shape, right? Build the polygon that you're testing against. Yeah. That 100% would have been the better way to debug this, to figure it out. I should have started at the very beginning of today. I should have started with writing the code to print the state of the grid based on the positions. That would have been so much easier. Hey, Stefan, what's up? Oblivious. Important distinction. Your rect will always have two opposing corners on the poly. Oh, that is a good point. So we always know that two of our corners make up the bounds. That's a really, really good point. Steven, you got another Serbian viewer over here? Nice, nice. Oh, do I really? Who's the other Serbian? Did someone say they were Serbian? I didn't see that. Or are you just going based off name? All right, we haven't made our coffee yet, and we only have like 40-ish more minutes. So let's go ahead and make the coffee, and then we'll come back and solve this. So I think what I need to do is I actually need to look at the center of the rectangle, and I need to see if the center of the rectangle is inside whatever the bounds of the polygon are. Then how would I figure that out? And then we also need to say, do the edges of my polygon run into the edges? It's almost like a collision detection, right? That's almost what it is. It's like almost like, but at the edges. So like here, how would we detect this? We'd say, okay, you're in, or we said center is in, great. However, this edge of our polygon intersects with the left edge of our rectangle. Yeah, I think that's what we need to do, but I'm not sure actually how to implement that, honestly. We're gonna have to iterate. We're gonna have to do quite a bit of iteration, right? I think we actually have to build up the... Yeah, I think we actually have to build up our... Well, no, we already have the polygon. The polygon is the points that were given to us. So those already are defined. Dude, I'm struggling. I don't know if it's clear, but I'm struggling. I don't know if you guys could tell this, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just drawing boxes on the screen to pass the time. It's obvious for Serbians that I'm Serbian. Oh, that's cool. Just based on the names. That's awesome. And now you guys are talking Serbian. Very cool. 99 oblivious. Reverse collision. Yeah, reverse collision. Okay, I'm gonna. So was part 2 a gotcha? Hell yeah, part 2 was a gotcha. Part 1, they were like, hey, you had a rough day 8? Well, we're here for you. We're gonna hook you up with an easy one. And then they're like, pow! All right, I'm gonna go set up the coffee stuff. We're gonna try to brew coffee, and then we'll see if we can't think about how to do this detection. Yeah, we got to get some coffee, and then. So give me 1 sec. I'm gonna set up the camera. I think the camera's set up, but give me 1 sec to double check. All right, I think it's gonna start as a black screen, so give it a second. There we go. And then we need to change our card because it's not day 17, it's day 18. Looks like we're back in Ethiopia. Man, we've drank so much Ethiopian coffee. It's kind of nuts. Hey, what's up, Rampla? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Day 18. Day 18. Let's see, 18. Ethiopian Bombay Natural. Strawberry, crisp apple, sugar cane, and lavender. These tasting, I gotta say, guys, the tasting notes always come off a little pretentious to me. And not, that part of coffee culture is not super interesting to me. The only question is, does it taste good or does it taste bad? Smells good. So I basically, when it comes to this algorithm that we're talking about doing, I basically have to use the polygon coordinates against my rectangle coordinates and do some math.
I also need to detect. I also need to calculate the center of my rectangle. I think. I love black coffee. Yeah, black coffee. That's pretty much how I drink it. 99% of the time is black. Although I am a believer in inclusive coffee, so an inclusive coffee culture. So if you like to put milk and sugar in your coffee, you do you. You drink the coffee the way you enjoy it. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their life. I'm always actually super suspicious of people that tell other people how they should live their life. I'm always very suspicious of those people. Like who would ever want to be in charge of another human being? Like being in charge of yourself is enough work as it is. To desire to control others is a very odd, definitely pathological desire. Getting my butt kicked in a new quest. What's your quest? What game are you playing? Okay, why that bruise? I gotta run to the bathroom. C++ win? Probably never. Probably never. I'll be right back. But probably no C+ ever. Unless somebody makes me. Alright, I'm back. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to solve this problem. Yeah, it's like, it's some sort of like collision detection. Yeah, it's like a collision detection, but not that, because yeah, no, it's the opposite. It's what Oblivious said, where it's basically the opposite. We're okay if things are perfectly collided, right? If the rectangle overlaps the polygon completely in a place, we're okay with that. It's if it is like partially collided. If I had done some game programming, I would probably know how to do this pretty easily, huh? This seems like a common thing you'd have to do in games. Alright. To the office.
Chat, you guys gotta get in the office. You gotta come in the office. Let's see. You're basically wondering if you're on/inside a room's wall and none of the rectangles outside. Yeah, exactly. Stefan, you want to rubber duck? Yes. So, I mean, I'm just going to kind of naturally do it because I don't think there's another way for me to figure this out besides to talk through it. I don't think I'm not terribly far away. Like, I'm on the right path, right? My problem is that this logic is too simplistic. That's basically my issue. So, I need to tear it down. I need to tear it down. And need to revisit. So we still need the min and the max, I think. You guys are in now. I love the way he said to the office. It's so engaging. Yeah, definitely. I agree, Oblivious. It's definitely like if I was a game developer, this should probably be like a trivial task that you'd have to implement over and over again. You probably have a library you like to use. Okay, so what is important about the rectangle to know? What's important about the rectangle to know is the center, right? Yeah, the center is what we want to know about. So, what we'll do here is before we calculate any of the area or the width, we are going to say rec min y, rec min x, rec max y, rec max x. And actually I'm going to put these here. So this would be math dot min start dot x and in dot x, and then we're just going to basically repeat that same bit of code, but we're just going to swap out what we're comparing. So this would be max, this will be y, right? Start dot, oh no, so we're doing rows and columns. Gosh dang it, this is what, okay, so this is actually y is min row, max row, x is column. I don't know why I do this to myself. Every year I fuck myself up with x's and y's and columns and rows, and I can never keep it straight. So max column would be start column, right? Oh, that's because it's probably because it's aired out up here. So this should be start row, end row, and then does this have to be a float? Oh, it has to be a float. Okay. Rainier, I think is how you say her name. Rainier, thanks for subbing. I appreciate it. Start row, end row. So this is we're getting the reason why we're getting these values is because we need to figure out the center of our rectangle. That's why we're getting these. So we'll say start dot column, end dot column. And then we'll say, okay, what's our center, right? Broken, you explain it again. What? Bro, not broken. What are you talking about, Suas? I'm lost, man. I'm lost. Oh, there's actually kind of an optimization here, isn't there? We can actually move this here. And we can actually say we can actually do if A is less than or equal to, we just continue. The reason being that, yes, I do care if it's in the polygon, but I also care that the area is larger than whatever we've been tracking. So if that is not the case, we don't need to do all these other operations to figure out if it's in bounds. So we'll just add that check first, and then we'll just exit early. Now we need to calculate the center. So the center, how do we calculate the center? Well, the center is going to be a delta between the between the maxes and the mins divided by 2. So maybe we need center y, or no, let's do center row, and then center column, like that. And then this will be position dot from center row and center column, like that. I mean, can you explain me the problem? Oh, so the problem is linked in the description if you want to read it all the way through, but I can show you with just the drawing I have. So basically, kind of what Oblivious said, where it's the kind of the inverse of collision, right? So collision is detecting when two things obviously hit each other, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually detect when we have a rectangle whose bounds have exited the area, right? So if you imagine this is checking to see if the rectangle has entered, and what we're really trying to see is we're trying to see if this rectangle has somehow exited outside of the polygon or the shape that they've given us. So what we're gonna do, or what my approach is I want to figure out first is the center of the rectangle in the polygon. That's kind of the first thing, because if the center of the rectangle is not in the polygon, well then all hope is lost. If the center of the rectangle is in the polygon, then I need to just verify that none of the polygon's edges intersect with my edges, is what I want to check then. So we'll have to do some math to figure out, hey, does this polygon X and Y intersect with my rectangles X and Y? I think is what we'll have to do. But I'm not sure. There's a case where we need to basically handle, though, when we're checking the vertices. There's a case where we have to, and by vertices I mean there's the number of points, right? The number of position points for a polygon. There's a case where we have to like wrap back around. We go off the edge, we have to wrap back around. I know what again, this is a classic. I know what the problem is, but I'm not certain I know what to do about it. You know, it's one of those situations. So I'm just gonna try to plod my way through the solution the best I can. So right now, all I know is I need to answer the question: is the center of the rectangle in the polygon? That's the first question I need to answer. So this will be the minimum plus the max divided by 2. So this will be rec max row plus rec min row divided by 2. So the theory here is if we're dealing with this guy, this rectangle, if our min row is 0, 1, 2, 3, and the max row is 5, then we add those together. 5 and 3 makes 8. We divide that by 2, we should end up with 4. That'll give us our center row. Yeah, that'll give us our center row. So going back here, we'll do that. Divide by 2, and then not react. Not react. React's max column plus react. I'm not even spelling shit right. Rect. Why do I keep want to say react? It's rect. Rect, Steven. Rect. Get wrecked. Divided by 2. And then these are currently floats, aren't they yet? So we need to cast these back to integers. So now we'll end up with a center position. Now, what do we need to do with the center? So this is where we need to check, hey, does our center fit within the bounds of the polygon? So this is where we can actually use some of that logic that we had earlier, where we can say, does this center violate any of the bounds of the polygon? Yeah. Does it? I don't know. So let's do center. My wife just texted me. Hold on one sec. If you can detect if a point is inside the shape or not, you can just do that for the 4 corners of the rectangle. So that was my, Suhas, it's funny you say that. That was my original thought too, and it works for some cases. That approach works. So like that works for this case, right? But it doesn't work for this case, which I think this is part of our input for the actual input. So like right here, you can see if you applied that same logic that you have in mind, you would say this is valid, but it's not, because it spans over 2 pieces of the polygon. My wife asked me to do something, and I need to make sure I remember to do it. So I'm going to set a reminder. Okay. So yeah, so this one won't work. So that's why we pivoted. That's why we're back to this detection thing that we're doing. So center is in, right? Center is in. Let's start with false. Let's assume it's not in. Okay. So then what that means is we need to loop over our positions. Yeah. We need to say positions like that. Oh, we need to range over it. Putting one in the center does not really help, because what if there are 2 intersections when the center is also on an island or part of the polygon? Yes, that is why we're going to look at the center, and then we're going to look at the edges. Yeah, we're going to do both. That's my thought, is we're going to do both. So we're going to look at the center, and then we're going to look at the edges, is what we're going to do. So then we'll say, give me 4... let's see, 4... What are we trying to do here? We're trying to loop over each of the existing positions in the polygon. We're going to figure out what the I think I need a classic for loop here. Because I have to basically have two. I need to have one position and another position in my polygon. I have to have two. So what I need to do is I need to say for I equals 0, and I need to then say I is less than the number of positions. We're going to increment I. And we need to do that so that we can then say I guess we need to walk back. I have to have 2 points in my polygon to solve this, right? So I wonder if this would be easier to generate all the points that are in my polygon and then just check against that. But that could be kind of a brute forcey approach, couldn't it? Which I don't know if that works. Let's see. I mean, if the shape is a W, did you get it? Steven, if you don't mind, can I know what format is given to you? The polygon, is it a list of vertices and edges? It's a list of positions, yeah. So there's a link in the Suos, there's a link in the description. Oh well, I guess you can't see it because you don't have part 2. So it's given, well, I guess you can see the input. But yeah, the input looks like this. It's just a list of X's and Y's that describe your polygon. Good morning, Ducky Dev. Hey, Steven, I got myself some stickers for my laptop. Send it in chat. Nice. Stickers for your laptop. Can't go wrong there. You're official, man. You're official. You're officially official. Yeah, but I think, Suos, your question about a W, my plan tackles that, or it should tackle that, right? Because let's say I have a W. Let's just do copy. Say I have a W. Oops. How do I rotate things? Can I rotate this? Doesn't look like I can. Oh, there we go. So say I have a W. Like a W will still work, right? So centers in, but edges intersect. Centers in, but edges intersect. Centers out, we don't even care about the edges. Centers out, we don't care about the edges. Centers in, edges are out. Yeah, so it'll work. Yeah, it'll work. It should work. I mean, I should say it should work. I just don't know how to necessarily go about implementing it. That's my problem. I like your mug color. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I tried to pick. This was a company gift this was my Christmas gift from my company. We could like pick from a list of things, and they have these Ember mugs, and I have a black Ember mug already, but I wanted something with a little bit of pop of color, and so I was thinking, well, can I find a mug that's like close to .NET colors? And this was the closest they had. It's not really .NET purple, but it's like a pastel purple, so you know, good faith effort. Also, you can't go wrong with an Ember mug. So we'll do... Essentially, we need to loop, right? That's at the very least of the matter. We need to do some looping. And so what I'm gonna do, but I'm already inside a loop. That's the other thing. I'm looping within a loop. Oh god. So we're gonna have another loop here, and I think it's going to be very similar to this one. I guess we could also, what we could do is, instead of doing what we did up here, if we wanted to save ourselves a loop, we could actually go backwards. We could actually build the pairs backwards. So we could do, so how you do that is you could do, instead of J being another loop, we could say, well, J starts at the last indice, which is going to be number of positions minus 1. And then at the end of each loop, we'll set J equal to I. And then that way we're just kind of like starting from here, and building our points that way. It's the same logic as the above loop. Essentially, we're just going from the end to the start instead of going like that. So what do we need to do in here? We need to basically do the same thing we're doing in the outer loop, and we need to say, okay, for edge start. This probably needs to live in a separate function because everything is this function is getting, like, the names of everything is getting polluted and hard to keep track of. So this probably needs to go in a helper function of some kind. Honestly. So edge start would be what would edge start be? Positions at I, and then edge end would be positions at J, like this. And then in here, we do the intersect detection. And then if things are intersected, we can then say inside equals something. Now when we do the intersection, we actually care about we care about the start edge being greater than the center, right? So if the center is here, then we don't want the edges Y to be greater than, or no, we don't want the points Y to be greater than Nice, dude. Yeah, I think 70 is pretty good. Yeah, man. I mean, I can't judge you. I don't know what I would have got on your math test. Probably not good. I haven't done haven't done complex math in a long time. As you can see, I'm struggling through how to do. Okay, the first question we want to answer is, we do the intersect detection. So the first question we want to answer is, does the edge cover the center positions row? That's the first thing. So if how are we gonna name this? Let's name this edge covers center row. So if this is true, which means to get this we need to check if edge start dot row is greater than center dot row. And for me, row is just a y. You can think of row as being y if you want to think of xy coordinates. Edge start row is greater than center row, and we don't want that to be equal to, or we want that to be not equal to edge end dot row is greater than center dot row. Oh, whoops. Why doesn't that work? Declared and not used. Invalid operation. Mismatch types. Untyped bool. Oh, can I not do that? I can't do that in line. Oh, no, I bet I can. I bet I just need to put parentheses around this. There we go. And then the other question we want to know is the edge to the right of the center? Yeah, is the edge to the right of the center? Meaning, like, is it a fence, right? So if you think, here's my center, is the edge over here? Well, I guess for you it's backwards, but for me it's my right, your left. Steven, are there any diagonals in the polygon? I don't know what the polygon looks like that I'm working against, but if I do this, it should cover all those edge cases. But if you think you can solve it, I would go, man. Go do because part 1 is trivial. Like you'll be able to solve part 1 and get part 2 unlocked really quick. Yeah, but if you think you can solve part 2, go start writing code. No, you're not too much, man. I just think, like, if you have an idea for it's like right now it's difficult for me to like try to pair with you on solving this because there's such a lag between like what I'm thinking, what you're thinking, and how we're communicating. So like pairing on this is not really realistic, but if you have an idea for a solution, I would go and try to implement it, because it's probably simpler than whatever I'm doing here. Okay, so how do we figure out if the edge is to the right of the center? So edge is to right of center. We're gonna have to figure out we're gonna have to figure out where so if our well, we actually need to calculate before we even do that. Well, we're gonna need that. So let's just do center dot column is less than, let's just say 0 for now. This is not right. But what we want to do is we want to figure out what is the x value of the intersection, right? So the way we have to do that is we need to calculate that based on a line. So I guess how would we do that? X intersection. And then this will be less than x intersection. Just do 0 for now. But theoretically, if we can figure out the intersection, if we can figure out the where this intersects, then we should be able to say if both of those things are true, right? So if both of these things are true, and edge is to the right of the center, then it should be inside. Right, because that's basically what we're saying. So here's the center, and we're looking to make sure that that edge sits over the center, right? That the center is on the right side of the edge, which means it's inside. If both those things are true, it means it's inside. So we can say, what can we say? We can basically toggle it, can't we? So we could say inside is just the opposite of whatever it currently is. So center is equals center, or equals the opposite. We'll just toggle it inside. Now, I don't know how to calculate the intersection. How do we calculate the intersection? Unique UX. Is this a code challenge? Feels like something for game dev or something that's already been solved. Yeah, we were actually talking about that earlier. Oblivious and I said this seems like collision detection, and she said actually it's the opposite of collision detection. She's right, because what we're really trying to detect is not if the rectangle hits the polygon, right? We're not trying to see if the rectangle hits the polygon. We're trying to see if the rectangle basically kind of leaves the polygon, right? So it's kind of the opposite. But yeah, it has very much like a game dev vibe, and I will bet for money there is some library out there that does this already, you know? Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's for AOC is what it's for, Unique UX. just got here. Yeah, no worries. It's for AOC. This is day 9 part. Yay! Thanks for subbing, man. This is day 9 part 2. Day 9 part 1 was really straightforward. Oh, is it already 7:16? Holy crap! Oh crap! I really thought I was gonna be able to do this. There might be an evening stream. I'm gonna give myself to 7:30. There might be an evening stream tonight to finish this. Because I think I'm closer than I was. So how do I figure out where something intersects? So if I have that, so here's my center. And I have 2 points that make up my edge. Yeah, I have 2 points that make up my edge, right? So I have 2 points that make my edge. I have the center. I can calculate the line. I can calculate the edge. I don't think I know how to do this. I keep saying that. I don't know how to do this. I'm trying to figure it out. 7:30 West Coast. No, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Unique UX, lock in, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna be able to get it done in 10 minutes because I still, even after I figure this out, I still have to figure out how to do not just the center, but I also have to figure out how to detect the edges intersecting, which I think is gonna be a little bit. It's gonna be similar, but when I do the edges, I have to care about if it's a vertical edge or a horizontal edge. I almost wonder, as I'm sitting here trying to figure all this out, I almost wonder I almost wonder if it wouldn't be easier to actually do this in a brute force way. Like, if we were to actually fill all the positions in our polygon, if we were to actually fill all the positions in our polygon, and then fill all the positions in our rectangle, and then just iterate all over all the positions in the rectangle and just make sure they all show up in the in the polygon. I mean, that's super brute force, but I'm wondering if that might be easier. Because to calculate this intersection, I basically have to do a little bit of heuristics. Or I feel like I have to do a little bit of heuristics. So, let's see. So what we do is we say, how far is the center? Okay, what's the length of our edge, right? So let's say edge length is going to be edge dot end dot column minus edge start dot column, and then so that's our length, and then we also need Steven, it's very easy. It's a 2D plane. Check if it's between two vertices and do it for the x-axis and the y-axis. Yeah. Cola, an actual good stream in the wild? Well, I don't know if it's a good stream, but it is a stream, Cola. So good to see you. Suas, I don't think it's easy. So, but if you think it's easy, then I would welcome you to go and write the code to solve the problem. Because I don't think it's easy. And nothing you say in chat, I think I'm going to be able to be like, yeah. Nor do I kind of want you to, because I do want to try to solve it myself. But, yeah. When someone's struggling with a problem, it's... it might just be like a helpful tip for you to know that it's usually not good to be like, it's so easy. It'd be like if we were in the gym and I was lifting, if I was bench pressing 315 and I said, Suas, it's so easy. You just lay down on the bench and you lift it off the rack and you lower it to your chest and you press it up. It's so easy. I know you didn't mean it that way, Suas. I know you didn't mean it that way, man. I'm just giving you a hard time. This is where I got stuck this year's AOC. Dude, I'm kind of stuck. So I think I have to figure out whether or not the center of my rectangle intersects with the current edge that I'm looking at, right? Because I want to figure out if that intersection point is to the right of where the center is, to make sure that my center sits in the polygon. And in order to do that, I'm basically trying to figure out what the middle point is in my edge, right? I'm trying to figure out where the middle X is in my edge. So I'm gonna need the length. So I guess this is actually, let's call this not edge length. Let's call this edge total horizontal distance. Yeah, let's do this. And then let's also calculate the edge's vertical distance, which is edge in dot row minus edge. I do think I would kind of like to try to see if I could do the brute force way, because I kind of wonder. Where am I? Here. The brute force idea I have is basically build all the points to construct this, build all the points to construct this, which I imagine is actually a lot of points given my real input, and then just if I do this in a loop, if I do this in a map, right? So I build all the points, stick them in a map, and then build all the points for this, stick it in a map, and then just do a lookup and say, okay, does this point exist in this map of points, right? And so all these points need to exist in this map. There's definitely gonna be a nighttime stream for this though, because there's no way I'm gonna finish this before the end of the day. Have you done it yet? No, I have not done it yet, Stefan. We're still struggling here. Okay, so we have edge horizontal distance. We have edge. So yeah, we have edge horizontal distance. And then we have to have some sort of ratio to figure out how far we need to go horizontally, right? So let's do like, let's call this like edge offset or something like that. And so this is going to be a ratio from these. This is basically going to be how far the center point is. So we'll do center dot row minus, I think, edge start dot row, like that. We diff those two things. Or maybe a better is for the center's offset, maybe. So basically, essentially, how far along is the center along the same vertical distance, and then we divide these things to get distance completed, maybe is what we can say, or vertical. How about vertical distance completed? And this would be the edge's vertical distance, right? The edge's total vertical, no, it would be the center's offset divided by the edge's total. So we know we can go this far, but we've only gone this far. So this would be center offset and then edge's horizontal, no, vertical, sorry, vertical. Like that. And then we should be able to use that to calculate the intersection. So then we can say, okay, assuming we start at the center's column, and Now we are going to travel the total, we're going to travel the length of the edge's horizontal distance times whatever the yeah, I'm actually going to call this center vertical. Center vertical distance. I'm gonna call it that. And then we need to do center column plus edge horizontal distance times vertical distance completed, I think. Yeah. So that will basically approximate where the X intersection would have occurred. And then we'll check to see if that intersection is less than the center's column. If that intersection is less than the center's column, then we know that that edge is to the right and it covers the center point. So I'm actually going to put this down here. And let's do this like that. And then let's flip these. No, this is fine. We can check. We're basically checking to make sure it's there horizontally and vertically. There you go. So remove that, remove that, remove that. So if we get here, the center is definitely inside for this edge. And we're going to check it for all those different edges that we can create. And if we get through all of that, we can say if center is inside equals false, we can continue. So that's how we do the center detection. Now, okay, so this is detect if center is in we should probably move all this to a helper, shouldn't we? Because this is getting really messy. Is center of rec inside our polygon? Now we need to check to see if edges of polygon intersect with edges of rectangle. So going back to our picture, again, just to kind of hit home what we're trying to, the cases that we're trying to hit on is, we're trying to say, okay, does this, so if we're here, right, meaning if the center point is like roundabouts here, okay, that's inside the polygon, great, check. Whoops, not that. So there, so great, that's a check mark, it's in. Now we want to say, okay, does this happen anywhere, right? Do these lines intersect? These walls intersect? And the main reason for that is so that we can handle cases like this where the center's in, right, but the edges are out. And then the center will handle cases like this where where we'll know right off the bat. Well, if the center's out, we don't need to even worry about the edges. I still wonder if the brute force approach wouldn't be valid and easier. So how would I, if I know the edges, how would I build the polygon? So if I have these coordinates, basically everything between here and here, here and here. Because we're at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're just putting a bunch of rectangles together, aren't we? At the end of the day. I might spend a little bit of time either off stream or before stream. I might spend a little bit of time putting together a way that we can visualize what our input looks like, because I think that would be very helpful for us to solve this. But it is 7:38 and I'm way over my normal time, so we need to figure this out. I am gonna put, let's see, I am gonna put an idea here to do. Hold on. Have a way to visualize the polygon. And then the other thing I'm gonna do, or I guess maybe not even visualize, but how would we construct all the positions in the polygon? I don't think this will work though for the input, because look at the input. These are pretty big coordinates. So you're talking about a 90,000, a potentially 90,000, 100,000 size. Yeah, looks like there's 100. Or no, that's 20,000. Huh, maybe it wouldn't be that bad. I definitely think my brain would have an easier time wrapping around that approach. I believe this. There are technically 2 logical steps needed to make this work. It's really hard not to spoil it. Oh shit. Don't spoil it! But now I want to know that. So this is the programmer equivalent of like, I got you a Christmas present, but I can't tell you I got you a Christmas present. That's basically what the equivalent of that is. It's like, I know the answer, but I can't tell you the answer. Have you ever seen the Sunny in Philadelphia memes? Let me see if I can find it. I know something you don't know. This one. I wonder if I'll get I bet I'll get copyright striked for it, wouldn't I? This is how I imagine people watch me as they're... Oh, she doesn't have any captions. I'm not going to play the sound because I honestly don't know if it'll copyright strike me, but he basically says, I know something you don't know. That's how I feel like some people are when I'm trying to figure this shit out and they already know the answer. It is so hard. Worst part is it's super elegant. Huh. So am I just horribly overcomplicating this then? Maybe I'm overcomplicating it. All right. In any event, I gotta go before I'm late for all the normal day stuff. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me while I struggled. I apologize we did not hit pay dirt today. We'll try to catch up this evening. I'll try to stream this evening so we can try to solve this and then move on. This will be the first. If I can solve this, this will PR me for Advent of Code, and this will be the first. This is to be the most problems I've ever solved on kind of a. If you're looking at this as like a percentage basis. So that's a good thing. But I appreciate you guys keeping me company. I do apologize. I'm not more of a Giga Chad programmer. Can't smash through these problems like NeetCode probably could. What do you think you hit an 8K today? I have no idea, man. Yeah, I try not to worry about the numbers. I like to celebrate the numbers because I just want to say thank you to people who take the time to subscribe and like and comment on my stuff. But I'm still just having fun making content and streaming, and it's a good time. So I'm just going to keep rolling with it. The way I solved it, it was super overcomplicated. I basically did redacted, but there's a way to do it more efficiently. Okay. Nice. You are. You can't solve one problem does not mean you are bad, bro. I appreciate that, Suas. Thank you for the encouragement, man. Yeah. I don't think I'm bad. I'm just probably need a lot more practice on the data structure and algorithm front, but we'll try to come back tonight and give it a couple more hours. We'll try to struggle through it. If we fall off our pace, that's fine. It's really not that big a deal, but I'd like to try to stick to our pace if we can. All right, normal wrap up. How many of us are here? 33. Thank you to all 33 of you for hanging out with me. I'll do my normal wrap up. So if you want to hang out with us outside of stream, you can go to our Discord, and that's the best place to find me or anyone in chat. If you'd like to come back and hang out in a future stream, my schedule is also in chat. It's from 4:15 a.m. to about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. And sometimes on the weekends I'll go a little bit later. And sometimes I'll do some bonus streams in the evenings if there's something I need to get done, like I probably will do today. So you're always welcome to stop in and say hi if you enjoy the vibes. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday. And if it's Friday for you, have an even better Friday. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, or maybe in the comments of a short or a video. So thank you guys for hanging out. Oblivious, what did you say? I've definitely had my fair share of crash outs with coding challenges, but sometimes something is just reminiscent to something I've seen before. Yeah, that's fair. It's pattern recognition at the end of the day. Stefan, yes, bye. All right, Stefan, you have a good day, man. See you, Suhas. Bye, Oblivious. Appreciate you being so encouraging. Really do appreciate that. Let's see who else is here. Suhas, Oblivious, Stefan, Cola, if Cola's still here. All right, chat. Bye. See you guys. Appreciate y'all. Have a nice day.